Working with wood is one of my hobbies. And this time I decided to make a model of a wooden country church. I will explain why I made this choice as we go along. The first thing was to look at some pictures for inspiration and ideas. And I certainly do get some ideas this way. And I decided to not make a full design ahead of time, but just start somewhere and improvise as I go along. So I established some rough dimensions and begin to cut the first parts out of 4mm plywood. And I prepare and shape the parts for gluing them together. I've decided to start with the front facade and the little entrance hall. So in the meantime I can tell you why a little country church. It makes me think of past times. Times when church life was more simple, more pure and honest. Times when Christianity was so much closer to the heart of God. Now, I'm not naive. I know that I'm over-romanticizing. People haven't really changed ever. But society has changed a lot. Wickedness has increased and worldliness has entered the church big time. These little country churches remind me of times before that. Meanwhile, the front facade and the little entrance hall are finished so far. The door seems to be floating, but I have planned a few steps and a small balcony in front of it. And this top part is not a chimney, but will be part of the steeple. I have now cut some parts for the sides. That determines the size of the church. This special corner clamp allows me to easily glue these parts together. The shape of the building now becomes more apparent. These country churches also remind me of the time of evangelists and preachers like John Wesley, George Whitefield, and Charles Spurgeon, which led to the great revival of the 18th century. And it was the period of Philadelphia, the sixth church, which lasted from 1648 to 1900. It was the period of the great missionary movement, when the message of the gospel was more important than the institute of a church. These times are over, as we've moved into the last church period of the Laodicean, lukewarm church of the end times. So I made this little segment to house the bell in the bell tower. Put a temporary spire on top. Later on I will make a definite one. And with this the outline of the building is finished. I'm quite satisfied so far. But now the detailing begins. I've seen in several pictures that horizontal overlapping boards are used for the outside walls. I decide to try it on the back facade first to see how it works out. That means I have to cut out a lot of tiny timbers from 1 mm thin wood. The foundation and lower part are stone, so I add a border for separation. And then the minute work of cutting and gluing begins. The result is very much to my satisfaction. And when adding the window frame, it really looks neat. And so I will continue with the front facade the same way. Here are some challenges because of the small pieces and many angles. But that too produces a nice result. Before I continue with the boards, I will add some details to the entrance. First of all, the door. And I like the idea of a cross above the entrance. In this way, everyone who enters the church will pass under the cross. Though the sides have a larger area, they are easier to do. People sometimes wonder where I get the patience for a thing like this. And although I'm quite patient by character, it's not about patience at all. It's actually very relaxing work. You are totally focused on one thing, and at the same time you don't need to think too much while doing it. So it allows me to meditate, to pray, and really to have nice conversations with the Lord. It's really what I like in woodcraft, drawing or making music. This relaxing, peaceful mode and being guarded from distractions. A teenager once told me that when he has some spare time, he just likes to be on his smartphone, browsing through his social media and things like that. It's relaxing or chilling, as he called it. But browsing through media with a rate of 140 images per second is far from relaxing to the brain. On top of that, you're tossed between all kinds of emotions and fed with major distractions. It's quite the opposite from this. Several hours and 370 pieces further, it begins to look quite different. Time to add some frames to it. And of course the door for the back entrance. For covering the roof, I like to try out roof tiles like the slate tiles they used to use. The wood I have is about 1.5 mm thick and is still too thick to my taste, so I start by making it thinner. And then it's a matter of cutting many small pieces. Gluing them on the roof is a very time-consuming job. But you now know how I spend that time. It took 127 roof tiles for the entrance roof. That means I have a long way to go for the big roof. Well, 1230 roof tiles and about 18 hours of gluing covered the main roof. Now the roof in the back is still left. That took another 340 roof tiles. I turn my focus now on the spire. As highest point of the building, it makes the church stick out in the landscape. There was a time that church steeples were a sign to be seen from afar and indicating that the Christian community was present. These landmarks have now largely disappeared. Some years ago I made a video about that, which you should check out. Of course, there is a finishing touch that cannot be left out. The spire points to heaven, and the cross is our only way to heaven. While working on the veranda, I was imagining that some people were standing there after the service, discussing what was being preached. Some children climbing on the balustrade and jumping off. Their parents telling them to stop, but yet allowing them to continue. Church life, family life, life in general. It has lost its simplicity, its comfort and safety. That is what happens when nations, communities, individuals, and even the churches themselves turn their backs to God. I mentioned in the beginning that I wanted the edge below to be stone. So now I glue small pieces in a stone-like pattern to emulate that stone edge. It is good that the church, even when it is made of wood, rests on a strong foundation of stone, like being built upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Matthew 7, verse 25. And now it is time for the finishing touch, the bell. Every time I watch the model, I think of the sweet associations it has for me, and most of all the nice conversations with the Lord. But let's not be melancholic about the time of Philadelphia and simple Christian life close to God. These days are over, and now we are nearing the end of the age. It is literally upon us. Soon we will meet the Lord. It can't get better than that.